UFC 325 Volkanovski versus Lopes 2 is right around the corner, and I'm here to give you my predictions for every single fight on the card. But first, we're going to take a quick little look at the cancelled bouts. Jimmy Crute was supposed to be fighting Dustin Jacoby, but Crute has ruptured his ACL. The fight has been cancelled. They'll be looking to find Dustin a new opponent on a upcoming card, I assume. That's a shame for Jimmy Crute. That sounds like a surgery and a good couple months off. Get well soon, I guess. Sergey Spivak was supposed to be fighting Ante Delija. I was excited to see this fight. I was excited to see how Delija would bounce back after getting chinned by Waldo Cortez Acosta. You know, there's a bit of drama around that because obviously Cyril Gane had poked Aspinall in the eye and that was a no contest. And then Delija had been like, oh, it's unacceptable. I've never fouled anybody in any of my fights ever. And then in his next fight, he immediately fouls Waldo Cortez Acosta. Cortez Acosta decides to continue the fight and then chins Ante Delija a few seconds after and wins the fight. So I was looking forward to seeing how Delija would bounce back after getting kind of embarrassed like that. I was kind of looking forward to see what the return of Ante Delija would be, but it looks like I'm going to be waiting a little bit longer. Quinlan Salkeld was supposed to be fighting Rong Zhu, but Rong Zhu has withdrawn from this fight. Quinlan Salkeld remains on the card, however, he's no longer fighting a minority. So it'll be interesting to see how he fares against a different type of opponent, if you will. A different type of opponent. So here we are in the prelims. Important to note. These are all part of, a good couple of these are part of the Road to UFC like format. Don't know if you watch Road to UFC, don't know if anyone there watches Road to UFC. I don't watch a lot of it, I'll be honest with you. I've done a little bit of research for this, but not a whole lot. Road to UFC is like a tournament type structure. Asia loves tournaments. It's in the Asia, they're looking for Asian talents. Obviously that includes New Zealand and Australia, I'm sure you can see. But they are, in fact, in Asia. And they do like a tournament structure. You know, we had Pride over there. Pride was like one-night tournaments. That kind of vibe. That's kind of how they've done things traditionally. And the UFC's kind of playing into that a little bit. Maybe not a one-night tournament, but, you know, it's still a tournament structure. And I'm guessing the winner... you can get signed on here just because, you know, you can get signed off a loss realistically. The UFC signs whoever they think looks good. But yeah, so these are all part of Road to UFC. So lesser known fighters, very lesser known. First up, we've got Namsurai Badbaya versus Aaron Tao. I think that's how I'm pronouncing it. Aaron Tao, probably a lot better, in my opinion, in the stand-up than Badbaya. I think outclasses him in the stand-up, to be honest with you. I think Badbaya's got enough to stay in the fight, but not enough to really do anything effective with his striking. I think the real advantage for Badbaya lies in his grappling. And I think he'll be able to utilize it. I think he'll be able to take advantage of Aaron Tao, really only being able to strike. I think if he just pushes the pressure a little bit and gets Tao comfortable with the fact that, okay, this is going to be a striking affair, and then mixes in the takedown, mixes in the grappling, I really think Namsurai Badbaya could actually find a submission in this fight. It would be interesting to see. It really would. I am going to go with Namsurai Badbaya by submission. I just have a feeling. I think Aaron Tao, like I say, is better in the stand-up. I just don't think he's going to have much of an answer for the grappling of Namsurai Badbaya. So we're going to go with Namsurai Badbaya by submission. It could very easily be a decision as well. It could easily be a boring decision where Badbaya's trying to hold Tao down and find an opportunity to finish, and it's just not really presenting. Tao's playing it too safe. He's not really giving up any limbs or his neck or anything like that. I could see that happening too. But yeah, I like a submission from Namsurai, but I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to a decision. For the sake of the prediction, we'll say Namsurai Badbaya by submission. But yeah, maybe we won't get the method, but we'll definitely get the guy. Next up, we have I'm gonna butcher this name. Solangrangbo versus Lawrence Louis. I don't know. Lawrence. I lean towards Lawrence Louis. Again, I think the stand-up is going to be a level ahead, a level above Solangrambo. I really do. Solangrambo. I do think I do think Lawrence Luai's striking is going to be a fair bit ahead of his opponent. Uh, I don't think Solan Grangbo's got the grappling, the grappling capabilities to really put up to really mix up the fight and give Lawrence Luai a different look. And I don't think his striking is going to be up to the same caliber as well. I think I noticed quite a bit with fighters from the Asian region. I'm hyped. The next fight's a Japanese guy. I'm hyped on the Japanese talent pool being brought into the UFC. However, what I'm beginning to discover is that these guys train way too hard. They spar way too hard, and a lot of them have ruined their chin by the time they get to the level where they can start making a name and whatnot, and they just become far too chinny. It's a shame to see. It's a very I would say, like, especially with the Japanese guys, I know Solan Grambo is Chinese, but it's transferable. They train hard. They train really, really hard. And they spar hard, man. They spar really hard too. I suppose the exception would be Thailand with Muay Thai, and they're more kind of playful with their sparring a lot of the time. And I think that would be the exceptions to the rule. But yeah, I mean, these Asian countries they really train hard. They really spar hard. And I think a lot of the time when you get a guy who could be a rising star, he's kind of busted his chin before he gets there. But yeah, I'm going to be going with Lawrence Luai. I'm getting too deep on... This is just the prelim and I'm getting too deep on it. We're going with Lawrence Luai. No, we're not. Yeah, we are. We're going with Lawrence Luai. We're going with Lawrence Luai by knockout. I feel like Solan Grambo just doesn't have anything to really put up a fight against it. I think there's going to be you're going to see levels to the striking. I think Solan Grambo's best opportunity, best chance of winning is to mix in the grappling. I just don't know if he's going to have the ability to kind of manhandle Lawrence. But that remains to be seen. We're going to go with Lawrence Luai by TKO over Solan Grangbo. We got there eventually, right? Hopefully we said it right. Next up, we've got Sebastian Cezalay. Cezalay? Yeah, why not? Versus Kenichiro Nakamura. I'm going to be going with Sebastian. I'm going to be going with Seb. Honestly, again, I think the striking is going to be a bit too much. I would like Nakamura to grapple, but I could see him getting chinned. To be honest, I can see him getting chinned really early. It's a tough one. I am going to go with Seb by TKO. It's just when you come across these guys who've got really good high level striking. I mean, sort of cerebral level striking. They can see what you're about to do. They can immediately identify. It's like peeping through the matrix, isn't it? They see you winding up. They see your tells immediately. It's rare you come across guys that are good at really disguising their strikes and stuff inside of the UFC. But I do think we're going to be favouring Seb. Not that... See, normally we would go with a Nakamura, but I do feel like maybe the chin of a Nakamura, maybe, I said it in the previous prediction. I just feel as though a lot of these guys bust their chins before they ever make it to anywhere. They just destroy themselves in the gym. But then, they have that crazy grappling, especially the Japanese. They have that crazy scramble heavy grappling. And am I going to talk myself into picking Nakamura? No, I'm not. We're going to go with Seb by TKO. I think he's just going to be too strong for Nakamura. Be interesting to see it. I am a little bit excited to see it, I won't lie. Just because, Japanese talent pool. Don't know why. Just a big... I like how much they scramble in the grappling. It keeps me entertained. It's a very fun style of grappling, a very fun form of grappling, wrestling, I suppose. Next up, we've got... Oh yeah, we're going with Seb by TKO. Don Marfan versus Sang Yuk Kim. Difficult one again. Let's take a deeper look into this one. So this is the championship, right? This is the top guys in the tournament, I do believe. Let me take a quick look. Yeah. Both guys seeming decently well-rounded. I suppose Don Marfan has the age. He's younger. He's the younger guy. He has the age on his side. But then does that mean that Sang-Yuk Kim has the experience? You know, don't know why I couldn't think of the word. Yeah. Yeah, Kim has the height advantage. What does Tapology think? Tapology thinks that Marfan's gonna win by a decision. I'm inclined to agree with Tapology. I like the age. He is the slight favourite in this fight. I could see why. Both decently well-rounded. They are both decently well-rounded. They're kind of well-matched, these two guys. I am going to go with Marfan, Don Marfan. Yeah, I'm going to go with Don Marfan, probably by a decision. I think I'm going to agree with Tapology. But, you know, Sang-Yuk Kim has the experience. Sure, he's the older guy, but, you know, might have that old man strength. You know, he might just get a hold of Don Marfan and twist him up. Who could say? But, yeah, we're going to go with Don Marfan by a decision. Yeah, I'm confident with that one. We're going to go Don Marfan by decision. We're going to agree with Tapology. And we are done with the Road to UFC tournament. So that would wrap that up for this card. And the first fight of like actual signed UFC fighters. Can Offley versus Yizaha. I'm going to go with Can Offley. I'm more familiar with Can. Not an amazing, definitely a jobber, definitely a bit trash. As is Yizaha though, you know. So, you know, it's a battle of the bums, if you will. A battle of the bums. We're going to go with Can Offley. I don't think he's that terrible. He's had some stinky performances, but, you know, not the worst guy. Not the worst guy around. Yeah, we'll go with Can Offley. I'm thinking... I'm going to go with Can Offley by a decision. I think it's probably going to be a little bit of a boring fight, I'll be honest with you. Tough one. I do lean towards Can Offley, but it is a tough pick. It is a tough one. Suppose we'll look deeper into it. We'll look deeper into it. Now, Yizaha is kind of like rising talent. They really want to get that China market. They've been investing, like they've been heavily investing in the Mexican, like Latin American market. They're trying to build the same thing in China, and Yizaha is definitely a guy that could be used to do that. Decent record, decent level experience, younger than Can Offley, even though I lean towards Can Offley. I do think Offley is the underdog. I do believe. Slight underdog in this one. I kind of lean towards him. Sure, he doesn't have as many fights. Sure, he's a little bit older. I'm sure he's got some stinky performances. You know, here's the deal. I just think that maybe the knockout over Weston Wilson doesn't really... I don't think it goes all that far, to be honest with you. And I do think that Can Offley can just make this into a boring fight where he can just kind of edge out every round into a decision. Maybe he loses the first round, Yizaha starts strong. But then I think if Can Offley can weather the storm, he just kind of fizzles it out into a boring decision. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. It is a tough one. Do I flip? Do I flip and go with Yizaha? I feel like I've gone with all the favourites so far. I don't know. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. It really is. Yeah, I mean the physical advantages do lean towards Yizaha as well. All right, I'm changing up. We're changing up. We're gonna change up. We're gonna go with Yizaha. Definitely gonna go with Yizaha. I was thinking Offley would be able to kind of slow it down and make it a boring fight, and then just kind of edge out each round as and when. But no, I don't think it's going to play out like that. I feel like he's going to try that. I feel like Can Offley's going to try and slow down the fight, and he's going to try and make it into a very back and forth matchup, and then kind of steal each round with just a little bit more output, maybe at the end, maybe trying to make a little statement at the end. But I feel like Yizaha is just going to not play into that. I feel like if Can Offley starts trying to slow the pace of the fight and starts trying to circle out and keep it slow, I feel like Yizaha's got the reach, he's got the height. I feel like he will be able to just kind of track him down and not let him slow down the fight and not let him force these kind of stalemate slow moments where we kind of, okay, what are we doing next? I feel like Izaha is just going to kind of not give that space, not give that opportunity for that to happen. So yeah, we're going to go with Izaha. Probably by a TKO then. Probably by a TKO. I could see Offley just kind of being on the back foot, trying to find openings and wear down Izaha, and they just never come, and he ends up wilting and breaking before that the opportunity ever comes. So yeah, we're gonna go with Izaha. I'm liking a TKO. Why not? Izaha TKO. He hits him, follows him down to the ground, puts him out there. Why not? Why not? Next up, we've got Jonathan Mikalev versus Oban Elliott. Now, you know we're biased on this channel, so we would lean towards Oban Elliott. Not been doing all that great recently though. As Oban, not really been doing that great. Kind of a bit of a performance with Basil Hafez. Yeah, he wins the fight against Hafez, but you've got to think, there was moments where it was like, okay, it's not all that good. And then in his next fight, those kind of weaknesses got exposed. And Oban Elliott couldn't really get going. He looked kind of bad. I'm not going to lie. He looked kind of bad. And then he's going up against, Mikalev, who's actually pretty good. Decent striker. Coming out of Australia, of course. It's a tough matchup. I feel like Oban should definitely employ a grappling heavy game plan. I feel like he should be doing very old school, shooting down low and then coming up top with some big overhands, faking the overhands and then shooting down low, working his way in with the jab and then dropping down for a leg. I feel like his best chance against Mikalev. I feel like he still gets the TKO. I just think he needs to make it dirty. He needs to make it a very dirty, grappling heavy striking exchange. Like, he needs to stick with the grappling, but he also needs to keep Mikalev guessing. He needs to keep him like, okay, he's going he's going for the leg, drops his hands, oh, I've been chinned, It needs to be that. It needs to be that constant. He needs to keep Mikalev guessing and on the back foot. If Oban Elliott wants to get the win, it's going to be a back and forth fight. I can see it now. All right, I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to do it. Oban Elliott. We're going with Oban Elliott. We're going to Oban Elliott by a decision. I think it's going to be a decision. We're putting our faith in Oban Elliott once more. Let us down last time. Let's see if he can redeem himself. We'll just have to. Only time will tell if Oban can redeem himself. But yeah, on to the next one. We've got Jacob Malkoun versus Torres Finney. Torres Finney, not all that popular, is he? Not all that popular. Getting clowned on a little bit for being absolutely fucking boring. Just absolutely boring performance. Yeah, I mean, doing what he needs to do to win. Do I think Malkoun? No, I don't think. Honestly, I think Finney's just going to lay on top of him. I really do. I think Finney's just going to lay on top of him, do the bare minimum with the ground and pound strikes. Yeah, kind of confident in that. I think it's going to be another boring fight out of Finney. I feel like he's going to double down. He was getting a little bit of shit for just being boring against Robert Valentin. He's getting a lot of crap for just being boring and not really doing enough against Robert Valentin. But I could see him doubling down on that. You don't like my style. Well, this is how I won the fights. Like, this is how I win fights. I hold you down. I pitter patter you. I pepper you up. Sometimes I'll find a TKO. Other times I'll just lay on top of you for 15 minutes. So he was getting a bit of hate after that last performance, even though he won. But it was a boring fight. It wasn't a very entertaining fight at all. And I could see him doubling down because, it works. And doing what you need to do to win is, at the end of the day, all you can really expect these guys to do. And I do feel like the grappling heavy game of Torres Finney, as boring as it is, I do think is probably a good method to victory against Jacob Malkoun. However, Jacob Malkoun, in fact, we'll just pop back really quick and give Malkoun his flowers. Decent little wins, and another guy who's willing to do what it takes to win. the Cody Brundage disqualification, I mean. But yeah, you know, wins over decent guys like Nick Maximov, not incredible, but like a decent win. And then we have like Cody Brundage. He was winning that fight, throws the illegal elbow stupidly and gets disqualified. But he was doing all right in that fight against Brundage. I mean, and Brundage has had his own, you know, issues since then. But yeah, and then, you know, Andre Petroski, decent win. But you know, I don't know. It's a weird one, man. It's a weird one. See, I need to check 1 second. I was thinking, right, so that Andre Petroski win is the time that Malkoun is the guy who knocked Petroski out with his hip. So Petroski went for a takedown on Malkoun and crashed into the hip of Malkoun, and Malkoun didn't do anything to defend this takedown at all. Like, didn't do a thing to defend this takedown. The takedown was going to happen. Malkoun was going to end up on his back. But Petroski headbutts the hip of Malkoun and rocks himself, and then Malkoun takes the opportunity and TKOs him with some ground and pound. Interesting, to say the least, but like I said, some strange performances, some okay wins, a decent win over Maximov. Was doing all right against Cody Brundage before the disqualification, was a decent back and forth, and then wins the flukiest fight you've ever seen against the guy that realistically should have just put him on his back and beat him up in Andre Petroski. Torres Finney is another guy that's just going to put him on his back. He's just going to grapple him. So I do think Finney has the advantage in this fight. I do think the fight's going to go to Finney. I think it's going to be a boring decision. I think Finney's going to double down on being boring just to kind of spite everybody, which I think is a bad move for him, like PR-wise. But then, you know, being the guy that people watch to see lose isn't necessarily a bad thing. You know, people still come and watch. Like, even the people who hate watch you, it's still technically fans, right? They're still paying your bills. They're still getting you. You know, they're still coming to watch you. At the end of the day, so yeah, you know, you'll find a lot of the time the people that hate you the most in this sport are the ones that watch you the most avidly. You'll find, because they want to see you lose. They want to see you get chinned. Like, a lot of people don't like Gene Silver, just because of his attitudes outside and the barking and whatnot. A lot of people don't like Gene Silver. They watch Gene Silver hoping he gets chinned. That's it. Like, there was so many people who were just like, thank God, hopefully this humbles him when he got chinned by Diego Lopes. But yeah, didn't really, did it? But yeah, that's just Gene Silver though, isn't it? That's just Gene Silver, and I think being disliked or being hated in the sport is as beneficial, sometimes more beneficial than being really well liked. Like, Sean O'Malley's quite well liked. So, you know, Sean O'Malley was more entertaining when he was more disliked. As he's been winning people over, he's gotten more boring. But anyway, moving on. Cam Rowanson versus Cody Brundage. Tough one indeed. I lean towards Cam Rowanson. I know Cody Brundage probably going to be a lot better in the grappling. I know he's got a decent chin on him, and it's a decent challenge for Cam Rowanson. We'll take a little deep look into this one, a little deep dive into this one. So Cody Brundage, the craziest career you've ever seen, as you can see, lost to Bo Nickel. No contest. Beat Marquez. Gets a draw against Abdul Malik. Abdul Malik's a weird one as well. Abdul Malik, like, I guess Abdul Malik's one of the guys that fights the level. Maybe Cody Brundage is a guy that fights the level. You put him in there with someone who's terrible and he fights terrible, but then you put him against someone who's good and you're like, well, hang on a minute, what's going on here with Cody Brundage? But yeah, and then loses a split decision to Eric McConaughey. So not really on the best of. It's a very colourful previous 5 fights. And then compared to Cam Rowanson, who isn't fighting the same level of competition, obviously, but you know, is doing good, and you know, yeah. I think we go with Cam Rowanson. I think Cody Brundage is just too unreliable. He's too wishy-washy. He's all over the place. And while he does have the skills, I just don't think. Maybe it's like a mental block, you know, like a Chael Sonnen getting triangled at the end of every fight, kind of mental block. Maybe Cody Brundage has got one of those. Yeah, I mean, it's a decent matchup. Physical advantages in favour of Cam Roaston. Roaston? Roaston? I thought it was Roaston, but whatever. Roaston. He's roasting, lad. Hope I've been saying his name right. But yeah, we're going to go with Cam Roaston. Do I like a TKO from him? I do like a TKO. I do kind of do like a TKO. If I'm following the trends. Although he has got submission capabilities. I don't think he's going to be able to grapple with Brundage as much as you would kind of want to, or you would expect him to be able to. I think Brundage is pretty good in the grappling. I do think that Cam Rowanson will beat him in the stand-up. I think he'll pepper him up. He'll beat him down. So yeah, I'm going to go with Cam Rowanson by a TKO, although I wouldn't be surprised to see a decision out of that one. Next up, we've got Junior Tafa versus Billy Elikana. I'm going to go with Billy Elikana. I don't rate the Tafa brothers. I don't rate them at all. I won't be surprised if the second I've finished uploading this video that Junior Tafa gets injured and Justin Tafa ends up in this fight. You know? I wouldn't be surprised. And then everyone's like, oh, he's going to get a knockout on short notice. That happened like one time. And I'm sick of pretending I'm sick of pretending that's the standard for these guys. They're awful trash blobs. Just trash blobs with no cardio. They hit hard, and that's all they've got going for them. I'm going to go with Billy Elikana. Hopefully to TKO Justin Tafa, and that's all I'm going to say. Moving on to the next one. We've got Quinlan Salkeld versus Jamie Malarkey. Now, I'm a big Quinlan Salkeld fan at the minute. He's stolen my heart. He's the intro for Best Bits. If you watch the channel, that's a good opportunity to plug Best Bits right there. After the cards, come back to the channel. I do Best Bits. It's a little montage of my highlight moments. Sometimes it's a knockout. Sometimes it's something goofy that happens. That one time that what was it? It was Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker and Volta Walker. Volta Walker pulled his pants down by accident, and Johnny Walker was like, but yeah, just highlighting the funniest moments, sometimes the best knockouts. But yeah, Quinlan Salkeld getting his head kick TKOs. That's become the intro to the Best Bits. So yeah, big fan of Quinlan Salkeld. Very big fan of Quinlan Salkeld. Leaning heavily in favour of Quinlan Salkeld. Fighting Jamie Malarkey. Malarkey, fair bit more experience than Salkeld. I just think the momentum is going to be a big factor for Quinlan Salkeld. And yet his opponent dropped out. I know he's been getting a lot of fanfare, and quite naughtily, his nickname, his secret nickname is the Minority Killer, because take a look at his previous fights. He fights, is it Anshul Jubilee where we start? So he fights Anshul Jubilee, knocks him out, like instantly, just knocks him out. Embarrasses Anshul Jubilee. Then he fights Yanel Ashmaus, dominates Ashmaus, just absolutely beats him up and dominates the fight and gets the unanimous decision. Then he goes against Nasrat Haqparast, head kicks him out cold. I'm sure this was on short notice as well, which is crazy. I think it was a little bit shorter notice. It wasn't crazy short notice. I feel like it was short notice. Maybe I'm wrong. Second guessing myself now, but I feel like that was on shorter notice. But yeah, head kick knockouts, just baits Nasrat Haqparast, bops him with the head kick, puts him out cold. Very, very, he just went down, man, frozen. But yeah, absolutely spectacular. Great setup as well from Quinlan Salkeld. And we take a look over at Jamie Malarkey. He's the heavy underdog, so I guess we're looking at the right thing. Losses against guys that are okay. I mean, right there, Nasrat Haqparast getting chinned by Nasrat. Not really a bad, Nasrat's talented. Nasrat can get things done. But if he's getting baited into that head kick knockout, there's clearly levels to the game, right? There's levels to the strike, and I think Quinlan Salkeld's probably gonna hurt Jamie Malarkey. Pardon me. Got a dry throat. But yeah, not the most amazing. Every time we get to a decent level of competition, like a Rufi, a Nasrat Haqparast, and Naimov as well, to be fair, and Naimov, Mohamed Naimov, decent levels of opponents. We're kind of a jobber. We're kind of trash. We're kind of a stepping stone, if you will. I am confident that Quinlan Salkeld manages to find a TKO in this fight. So yeah, we're gonna go with Quinlan Salkill by TKO over Jamie Malarkey. Yeah, that's gonna be good to see. It's gonna be good to see. I'm quite happy for it. Quite excited. Now let me pull up my other notes really quickly. My apologies, I should have had this ready beforehand. But yeah, we're going to go with Quinlan Salkill by TKO. And we are going to move on to the next fight, which is Taito Iwasa versus Talison Teixeira. I've got my notes open now. Taito Iwasa's a bum, right? He's actually a bum. Like, he is only here right now. He's only here. He should have been cut from the sport like 2 losses ago. Okay? Like, didn't he fight... Was it Taito Iwasa who fought... I should have this in my notes, actually. Did he fight Rosenstrike? Yeah, he fought Rosenstrike and lost, and Rosenstrike got cut. Look at that. Look at that. I've blew the game away. I've gave the game away now. Look at that. Look at that. Terrible. You know why? Taito Iwasa's a bum. Actually a bum. I was a big fan of Taito Iwasa. Did I pick him to beat Derek Lewis? I can't remember. And he dropped Cyril Gane as well. There was a moment in time where Taito Iwasa was like an anomaly, and it was a brief moment, and he managed to capture a hell of a lot of star power in that brief moment. But yeah, Taito Iwasa, absolutely trash. He just hits hard. He's got no cardio. He's got no grappling. He just hits hard, and it's not even like he's got the footwork to put himself in a position a lot of the time to hit hard. He just doesn't. You come in on him and he'll try and bonk you. Talison Teixeira, not that good either, but Taito Iwasa, actually a bum. Like, just a bum. Through and through. It's a super thin division, isn't it? That's why we're here. It's a super thin heavyweight division. 20 and 22. Listen, Taito Iwasa is going to get chinned by Talison Teixeira. I think Taito Iwasa is going to look good for about maybe 10 seconds, and then he's going to start getting tired, picked apart, and he's going to get finished by Talison Teixeira, who also isn't that good, if I'm being honest with you. Like I say, it's just a very thin heavyweight division. So yeah, we're going to go with Talison Teixeira by TKO over Taito Iwasa, the absolute bum. Literally, the only reason Taito Iwasa is popular is because he drinks out of a shoe. He just does a shoey. That's it. Like, he's just a bit of a character, and they're only keeping him around because of that. Like, he's literally, star power is preserving this man, is keeping this man employed, you know? I suppose he's big. Over there, you know? He's a star over there, isn't he, really? So, that's just how it be. Talison Teixeira by TKO. Next up, we've got Rafael Fiziev versus Mauricio Ruffi. Fiziev is good. I give Fiziev a lot of credit. I think Fiziev is a little bit of a dark horse in the division. Of course, he's getting old now, and he's changed up his style quite a bit since being... He got lots of injuries in his career as well. I don't think he gets to a title, if I'm being honest. But, you know, he could have. You know, if his career had gone a little bit different and maybe not as many injuries and maybe not as many tough fights, he could have been there. But no, he's definitely a guy that belongs around the top 10. And he's being matched up against Mauricio Ruffi. I think the fight... Here's the deal, right? Fiziev just had a close fight with Gaethje. It was a close fight with Gaethje. Gaethje is now interim champion. That's a decent little bit of stock. He beat Paddy. I know a lot of people are shitting on Paddy right now. He was never that good. Oh, he got gifted the performance. That's what happens. That's what you get when you get gifted a title shot. And all that. But, Fiziev also did pretty good against Gaethje. He probably did better than Paddy did, realistically. I suppose it was a shorter fight, though, so, yeah. Let me take a look at my notes. Yeah. There we go. So, here's my train of thought. Here was my train of thought when I was watching my footage. I think Fiziev did really well against Gaethje, and it was mixing in the grappling that really helped him against Gaethje, being able to grapple with Gaethje, put him in a weird position where he almost had like an armbar triangle, inverted triangle type deal. So like unorthodox, but can grapple, is happy to roll, whereas Ruffi just has zero grapple. And I think Ruffi is levels above Fiziev when it comes to the striking. I just don't think he has anything at all to offer in the grappling, and I think that was to his detriment when he fought Benoit Saint-Denis. I think Benoit Saint-Denis mixed in the grappling, kept the pressure heavy, and Ruffy just wilted and didn't know what to do with that kind of scenario. And I feel like Rafael Fiziev is kind of a meaner, tankier, maybe not as heavy maybe not as good at the grappling, but he's meaner and heavier. You know, he's just a little bit bigger version of a Benoit Saint-Denis, maybe slightly different, but if he employs the same game plan, he's a guy who's fully capable of employing the same game plan Benoit Saint-Denis did to beat Mauricio Ruffy. And Ruffy's not a guy who's going to suddenly be like, okay, well now I need to become a grappler. Like, he's a striker through and through, just a pure-blooded striker. He's going to try and stay on his feet, get back to his feet, and land heavy shots. So I'm going to go with Fiziev. I think it's going to be a Fiziev decision. I think it might be a little bit of a boring one again. Might be a bit drawn out. I can see Ruffy having moments in the first round, but Fiziev just kind of took on the chin and walking through those shots and kind of trying to get to a leg, trying to clinch up, trying to duck under those jabs and straights to try and get around the body and clinch up. Yeah, I can see Fiziev making this a very dirty fight and just kind of employing the same game plan Benoit Saint-Denis did against Mauricio Ruffy and kind of expose him, to be honest. If Fiziev beats Ruffy in the same way that Benoit Saint-Denis did, that's it. Like, Ruffy's been exposed, the blueprint's there. Ruffy can't grapple. All you need to do is get a hold of a leg. All you need to do is tie him up in a clinch, and you will run away with this fight. So yeah, this is a big moment for Ruffy. I don't think he's going to rise to the occasion. I do think he's going to get pulled into a dirty grappling exchange, a dirty, filthy grappling exchange with Rafael Fiziev, and kind of get beaten up, if I'm being honest with you. So yeah, I'm going to go with Rafael Fiziev to get the win over Mauricio Ruffy by employing his grappling. I could see it being a close decision. I could see it going to a decision, though. So yeah, I think it's going to go to a decision. Next up, co-main event time, we've got Dan Hooker versus Benoit Saint-Denis. I think Dan Hooker's striking is going to be a fair bit better than Benoit Saint-Denis. Dan Hooker's stand-up game, like his kickboxing, top notch. But he's just been twisted up by Arman. Like, he did just get a similar situation to with the Ruffy, like with Mauricio Ruffy. Ruffy is a great striker. Dan Hooker is a great striker. The grappling leaves a hell of a lot to be desired. And you can get pretty far with some decent striking and just kind of trying to stay on your feet and some decent grappling, defensive grappling, defense, takedown defense, defensive wrestling, just to kind of stay on your feet. But at a certain point, there comes a time where you've kind of got to go with the grappling and make a statement within the grappling and get back to your feet, kind of turn the tables and make it uncomfortable for the other guy there. And I don't think, similar to Ruffy, Dan Hooker doesn't really have anything in his repertoire to kind of turn that in his favour. He can scramble okay, he can get back to his feet okay, but he doesn't really have anything to attack with on the ground all that much, if I'm being honest with you. But I think if Benoit Saint-Denis decides to stand with Dan Hooker, like he tries to... If Dan Hooker can defend the takedown, or if he can get back up, and Benoit Saint-Denis seems like... Because Benoit Saint-Denis will shoot a lot of takedowns, but it seems like... Maybe it was the staph infection, but it seems like in his more recent fights is that the grappling... He is good at grappling, but that grappling will tire him out quite a bit, especially when he's got to exchange... When he's got to change between the striking to the grappling and flow between both styles. I feel like that kind of tires him out quite a bit. And I can see Dan Hooker maybe stuffing a takedown, maybe getting up. And then Benoit Saint-Denis be like, okay, I'm going to exchange in the striking for a minute and set up a chance to get back to a grappling exchange. And I can see Dan Hooker really bopping Benoit Saint-Denis in those moments. And just kind of being unorthodox, making it awkward for Benoit Saint-Denis. I think nonetheless, I'm going to go with Benoit Saint-Denis. I feel like he's just watched Arman twist up Dan Hooker. Like, just twist him up badly. And I could see Benoit doing the same. He's got the ability to do it. I feel like as long as... If Dan Hooker isn't making it really difficult, like super difficult, and he goes down as easily as he did against an Arman, then I think Benoit Saint-Denis is likely going to get a submission. I think he gets him down, gets on top. Dan Hooker gives up his back, trying to get up, and Benoit Saint-Denis just takes a rear naked choke, finishes the fight there. So yeah, I'm going to go with Benoit Saint-Denis by submission over Dan Hooker. Yeah, I just don't think... I think Dan Hooker really needs to learn to grapple, to be honest. I really do think he needs to learn to grapple. it would just help him out a hell of a lot more, especially in the lightweight division. The lightweight division is stacked with well-rounded guys, and Dan Hooker's done really good to get as far as he had was basically just striking, but and a little bit of defensive grappling. I think he needs a lot more if he's really gonna get through this top 10. I mean, the odds aren't really in his favor. I don't think it's gonna happen in his career, unfortunately. But yeah, I do think he's going to get twisted up by Benoit Saint-Denis, very similar to how he was twisted up by Arman. So yeah, Benoit Saint-Denis by submission. And finally, it's main event time. It's the big one. Okay. I'm hoping. I hope Volkanovski wins. I pray. I want it. I need it. I need Volk to win. I need him to retire. I need him to win this fight, retire right there and then ride off into the sunset. He's talking crazy like he's going to hang around if he wins this fight. I need him to win this fight, cement his legacy, and then ride off into the sunset, okay? Now, looking at this matchup, this is the second time they're going to fight. This is, not even that far removed from the first time they fought. And, Volk won that fight very convincingly. Like, brilliant game plan, brilliant strategy, just played it perfectly. That could lead to complacency, Volk has, taken a lot of chances towards the end of his career. Volk was kind of was seen as a boring champ, a boring fighter, and kind of, it's only more recently when he's been mixing things up and getting crazy with it that he's kind of found this new level of popularity and gets the respect he kind of deserves. It's a tough one, and they fought before, so that could lead to Volkanovski getting complacent, like I've said. And then Diego Lopes can be like, I can go back and watch where I was messing up. I was just chasing him. I was following him. I wasn't cutting off the cage. And I was just following, desperately trying to land the right hand and making it incredibly obvious. And all Volk needs to do is just circle away from that hand the whole fight. I think Diego Lopes landed like a left hand to the body. And that was his best strike of the fight. And the rest of the time he was just trying to land the right hand that was never going to land because Volk was just circling out the entire time. Crossing his feet and everything to do it, which is interesting. But yeah, I could see Diego Lopes really coming back to this fight with a brand new game plan, trying to cut off the cage and kind of track Volk down. And I think, in that scenario, it could go very well for Diego Lopes. Like I say, he's fought this guy before. He can see the areas quite clearly if he watches back the fight where he needs to improve, the tricks and the traps he was falling into. I don't think Lopes really deserves this title shot, though. I'd said earlier that the UFC's been investing heavily in like the Asian markets, the road to UFC and whatnot. And we know they've been investing heavily in like the Mexican, Latin American markets, and I think that's why Diego Lopes is being pushed so hard to win this one. I like Diego. I like both fighters. I actually do really like both fighters. Obviously, I've got a lot more love for Volk. Just an awesome dude. I really want to see him win this fight, cement the legacy, retire, and get the hell out of here. But I don't know. I don't think. So here's the deal. I don't think that. I think we're going to see a bit more of a vintage Volk, like Volk when he was being accused of being boring. Like, I think there's no reason for Volkanovski to take any chances anymore. Like, he's come along, he got the belt, he's been called boring, he's kind of turned it around and done some cool shit. Didn't win all the fights, but he's done some cool stuff. And now he's back to being a champion again. And, he is getting on a bit. He's fighting a young, hungry guy in Diego Lopes for the second time. And Diego Lopes can only improve since the first time they fought. It's not like Volkanovski made that many mistakes to need to improve upon. It's the onus is on Diego Lopes to improve and do better. But I just think that Volkanovski doesn't need to go crazy. I think getting chinned by Islam and then getting chinned by Ilya, like back to back, isn't. I think that's a wake up call for Volk. And I think you could see that in the last fight against Diego. He was like, okay, I've got the star power now. I've got the pedigree now. I've got the legacy. I just need to defend it now. And it doesn't really matter if it's an entertaining fight or not. I've got enough clout now where it don't really matter. And that's a good place to be in. But like I say, it can lead to complacency. I just think getting chinned by Islam, getting chinned by Ilya, is really put like a a different perspective on things for Volk, and I think he's just going to take it easy. I think he's just going to play to his strengths again, and I think it's really going to be on Diego Lopes to kind of mix that up and find a new way to get to Volk. And it'll be interesting to see how it plays out, because, you know, if Volk goes in there with exactly the same game plan, then he can be exploited. But it's Volkanovski, and he's great at game planning. And like I say, if he's playing more cautiously after, you know, being knocked out by Ilya and Islam, I could see him really play into his strengths and just kind of winning the fight that way. So yeah, I think I'm going to go with Alexander Volkanovski. I'm going to stick with Volk. I think Volk's going to win a decision. I don't think he needs to do anything crazy or make a big statement. I think he just needs to win this fight, and I would really like to see him retire after it. I don't want him doing any more crazy shit. I don't want him fighting every other contender waiting in the wings for him in featherweight. I just don't want to see it. I want to see him retire. I want him to get out of there still healthy. You know, not too much CTE, getting knocked out by Ilya and Islam. Surely done some damage, but I would like to see him get out with the majority of his health intact. So yeah, we're going to go with Volkanovski by decision. We're going to hope, we're going to pray, we're going to do a sacrifice to the MMA gods. Don't know what I'm going to sacrifice yet, maybe some of my own brain cells. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, that does conclude this prediction video. If you enjoyed it, consider leaving me a like. Subscribe for more. We do okay on picks over here. You know, last year we were like, it probably dropped down to more of a 60%. But for a little while there, we were like, yeah, man, we're riding high. We're like just about a 70% pick rates. But it's probably more like a 64 or 65 by this point. But that's just how the cookie crumbles. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Until next time, keep your chin down and keep swinging. Peace and love. I'll see you around.